Over the next couple days, I'm going to be building a custom shelf system for this MAKTRAK system from Makita. Underneath, I'm going to have room for shovels, rakes, brooms, and then on top, I'm going to build a custom shelf system to fit all of this MAKTRAK. Now, currently, I do not have a design. I'm going to kind of just wing it. That's what's great about this video. You can watch this video, see what you like, what you don't like, and build it on your truck. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Before we get into the video, I want to say a quick thank you to CompanyCam. We use it to document all of our jobs and our estimates. Be sure to check them out. All right, I'm at 123 Main Street. We need to remove these vines, mulch the beds, remove all these leaves. It's about 6 yards of black mulch. And we can do a light trimming and weeding as well. This AI feature is my favorite. No longer do I have to take notes. Be sure to check them out and see how they can help your business. So as I said, I don't have any plans. I'm just kind of winging it. So the first thing I need to do is obviously start with the base. As you can see, the plywood is bigger than the cargo glide. So what I need to do is rip that down, cut it a little smaller so that way it can fit inside the side rails. So the first thing I'm going to do, cut this plywood, rip it down so it fits, then install the 2x6s with these little compartments, which are also going to act as a support for everything on top of it. Once that's done, then I'm going to put a sheet of plywood on top, and then the fun part starts. So I'm going to use a track saw because it's a lot quicker and a lot faster. I understand most homeowners probably don't have one. You can easily just get a level or straight edge or just freehand it with a circular saw. Obviously, because I have it, it makes life a lot easier. I'm going to use it. Alright, so in the corners they have these little plastic pieces with this angle. So what I did was I just took a little piece of scrap plywood, and now I'm going to trace that, take my jigsaw and cut out this corner. Alright, you might be asking, Matt, why are you cutting this down? So obviously I'm using a full 4x8 sheet, but I just cut this off because I want this to be flush with that bottom sheet of plywood. Now I'm aware if I use a full 4x8 sheet, the top sheet is going to overhang this. I'm fine with that. What I don't want is this to be 8 feet and then that come along or rake or broom, whatever I might put in the future, protrude from that. So I'm intentionally cutting this off so that way whatever the head of the tool is that I have has a little room before it hits the door. Now, as I do in most of my videos, I try to explain it to the contractor and also like a homeowner DIYer. Obviously, if you're installing this in the back of your truck, chances are you're a contractor. So some of this I might dumb down way too much. So obviously you can skip ahead. But if a homeowner's seeing this or somebody that wants to get into the trades and doesn't know how to use any tools, I just want to show the basics all the way to the most complex things. I have a miter saw, so why not use it? So all you would need if you didn't have a miter saw is you just get a speed square, you put it on here and run it like that, or you just mark it and use the circular saw. So again, I'm just showing every aspect of this so anyone from a beginner to a professional is able to do this. All right, with the 2x6s cut, now it's time to screw them to the plywood. Bottom sheet notched out, I'm laying out my 2x6s. So if you can see over there, that one's a little bigger because obviously the come along's a little bigger, but these two are equal distance, they're 10 inches apart, and then obviously that's the remainder. So the deck system is a sheet of plywood. Some of you might be asking, Matt, why are you putting a sheet of plywood on the bottom if there's already a sheet of plywood on the bottom? So this way, in the future, if I need to remove this in the wintertime, again, I'm just thinking ahead that I do not want it to be attached to this. Simply having some screws on the bottom, removing the screws and removing the whole unit as one is much easier. But in your case, if it's a permanent fixture, obviously you could save 50, 60 bucks by not using a sheet of plywood on the bottom and just screwing right into these 2x6s. So what I'm gonna do is to attach this bottom sheet, I'm actually gonna screw from the bottom down the road. If I need to remove it for whatever reason, I don't want to have to disassemble everything. I can just undo these screws, pick it up with the forks of one of the machines, and we're good to go. Now, the only downside is I am going to paint all this. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to assemble everything and then disassemble everything so I can paint it, because once I put this sheet of plywood on top, obviously I'm not going to be able to get paint in here. So as you can see, between rust, dirt, water, whatever, I want to paint it with like a semi, so that way it somewhat protects the wood. So right now what I'm going to do is take the tools out, screw the 2x6s to the plywood, and then the top sheet is going to be a full 4x8 sheet. I'm not going to cut the top sheet, but I had to cut the bottom sheet so it fits inside here so we have good contact with the bottom part of the deck. All right, now I could chalk a line and screw it, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put the other one in first. Then I'm going to do a 10-inch spacer, 10-inch spacer. That way everything's square and true. And then I'll flip it back over and do all the screws. That way, because if I screw it in now, it might start waving. So now we have the compartments for the shovels and tools and rakes and stuff. With the spacer, now I know that these 2x6s are straight. So we're going to flip it over and finish screwing it off. You can see where I notched out around for those brackets. I notched out obviously for that corner and that corner. And then because the lip of the deck system comes up higher than the plywood, I just ripped this 2x6 about whatever, half an inch off. That way it ties the back in, and when I put the plywood on top, it gives it some more support. So, but if you remember, I only have 6 screws in here, 2 back there and then 4 across here, because again, we're going to remove this, sand everything, paint inside. I might actually put metal over here, or at least at the very least take a router and round these over, just because I know when I put stuff inside it's going to chip off. This is what it looks like right now. So tomorrow we'll start building the fun stuff, but I needed to get this part done so that way I know my heights and I know my widths and I got everything I need. So this is a full 4x8 sheet of plywood. You can see how close it is on either side, but again, for a regular pickup truck you'll have plenty of room. All right, so this is the start of day 2. So we're going to start building the boxes. Again, I don't have a design, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip a couple sheets in half and use them as the shelves at the bottom, and then we'll start building the sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure 2 feet, because this is obviously 4 feet. Now the one thing is the blade is typically 1/8 of an inch thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to split the difference, and that way I'll probably cut this one again, or I'll rip it through the table saw to make sure they're exactly the same. So they'll be a little shy of 24 inches. So before I start figuring out what I want to do, I'm going to get a light sanding on it with 220, just because it's easier to do it now when they're sheet goods rather than when they're all cut up. I'm not going to show that because it's pretty boring. Just going to use a 5-inch orbital sander, do a light sanding because it is already sanded, but just to clean it up a little bit so the paint and primer adheres better. As you can see, I'm mocking it up right now. Now, Makita just launched the MAKTRAK system. I anticipate, I don't know this for a fact, but I anticipate they're obviously going to add to it. Whether it's drawers or different size boxes or whatever the case may be, they have the flexibility to do that. I'm putting this bottom shelf with these 2 big boxes. And the reason for that is my truck is roughly up to my belly. So I anticipate putting the most amount of weight in these lower boxes. So I want that at a comfortable height. As I go up, you can see that there's smaller boxes, so there's gonna be lighter weight. It's gonna be easier for me to reach up and grab them. With the size of my truck and where the door is, I had to take off a little bit to be able to pull this out easily. I have an idea for what I wanna do in there, but you'll have to watch that later in the video. All right, so now we're ready to start cutting some plywood and assembling. So my thought process is I don't know what I'm gonna put in these boxes. I don't know how much weight is gonna be in these boxes. In most cabinet building, there's the sidewall and then they dado for the shelf. Now, I'm not gonna do that. One, because it's gonna take more time, and two, again, I don't know how much weight is in here, so I want it to be as structurally sound as possible. So what I'm gonna do is have a sheet of plywood go all the way up on the outside, and then on the inside, I'm gonna use another sheet of plywood from the bottom all the way to or from the top of this to the bottom of this shelf, from the top of this to the bottom of this shelf. Now, I'm sure some of you are gonna be like, that is a complete waste. I know. But I'd rather it be structurally sound and anticipate the future than using a little strip and it falling off or breaking or dadoing or pocket screws. I mean, there's several ways to go about this. This is mine, so this is the way I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna waste a lot of plywood by building these shelves, but it's, I think, the best and strongest way. All right, so I just cut 8 at 7 inches. That's gonna be for the 2 shelves for the smaller boxes. Now I'm gonna cut 4 at 10 inches for the bottom bigger box. All right, so now we have our 4 10s and our 4 10-inch and our 8 7-inch. So this morning I cut the shelves that the MAKTRAKs are gonna sit on, and I also cut the sidewalls. Now, as you can see right here, there's what's called pocket holes. I have this machine. This is a Craig. I forget how much I paid. I think it's like $400. So obviously it's expensive. But you can go to Home Depot and buy a little kit by Craig for like 30 or 40 bucks. Pocket holes really aren't a necessity, but it makes life a little easier. They do make little pieces that go inside here, so it's not that ugly, but since we're gonna cover it with plywood anyways, you're not gonna see it. So now we're ready for some assembly. And for people that might not know, use 1¼ inch screws. Craig makes their own screws, but that's obviously less expensive to buy a big box like that. And then that's from Craig. This circle thing goes into the pocket hole to hold it in place. And then I was using that to hold the corner. That's the glue I use. And then this little glue thing, this is rubber. So once the glue hardens in there, you just turn it basically inside out and the glue comes right out. Same with the tip of this. But this is from Rockler. And works great to spread the glue around and limit your mess. And then on the back side of it, there's a little scraper thing. So you can scrape the excess glue off. Now ours is gonna get covered anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference, but. All right, I know I'm a visual person, so for the people like are me, here's kind of what it's gonna look like. Now keep in mind, it's upside down, so all those boxes are gonna go the other way. The big boxes are gonna be at the bottom, and then it's gonna be like that. But this is the supports that I was talking about. Again, some people might say it's a waste of plywood, but that way, again, this is the bottom. So this is sitting on top of the deck, so the weight from all of these just continues through on that shelf, through this support, through that shelf, through this support, onto the deck system. Now I'm using 1¼ inch staples because obviously 3/4 and 3/4 an 1.5 inches. So I don't want it to go through on the other side. All right, so you're gonna notice that I'm not installing these shelves. See that they're still free flowing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install these and then put the next shelf on and then install the next ones. The reason I'm not installing these is because for multiple reasons. Once I put this in here, because I wanna paint it, I'm not gonna be able to get a sprayer or roller. I might be able to get a whiz in there, but it's just gonna take longer. The other reason I'm not installing them is I'm gonna mount these. So I've never seen these before, and I was gonna make my own, but now I don't have to. So obviously this is a little halfy. Oh yeah. So for people that don't know, this is the new MAKTRAK system. And you might be wondering, well, how do you mount it to something without using one of the lids? Well, just like that. And to one up that, I also have one of these guys, and it even locks into place. And what makes this great is I have my miter saw on the pack out plate. I have my air compressor, my table saw. That way you can mount whatever you want to this and transport it with the bottom. And that way you don't have to carry it to job sites. Awesome, awesome stuff. Go check them out. So to hold the MAKTRAK in place, these will get screwed down to these shelves and then they'll basically get locked into place like that. Now, if I install this shelf, to get screws, especially in the back, will be very difficult. So what I'm gonna do is just use it as a placeholder, remove it, paint it, then install these, then slide them in. Now, the other thing is when I applied the glue on the bottom, it really didn't matter. I'm gonna stay about 1 inch or 2 off because obviously I don't want it to drip down and hold this in place. Now you can see how this pulls out. Now, another thing, what I did in my trailer, if you check out that video, I did something similar with the pack out system. So in theory, if you wanted to pull this out, obviously you can't pull it out all the way, but it gives you a little bit more access and room to work with things. So I might leave it like that as well. All right, so this is done. And then what I'm gonna do is mount the chargers over here on this side, probably one XGT, one LXT. And then I have an idea to get it power. All right, we are finally on the last part of this build. To Home Depot and I bought these, what are they? Everbuilt undermount slides. The problem is these are only 21 inch. In a perfect world, I'm sure Amazon or something online has the full slides. So the bottom of it is 22 by 17 and a half. And what I had to do was, as you can see, notch these undermount slides, because they're not long enough, will work. So from here to here is 21 inches, and obviously from here to here is 21 inches, and then this offset is per the directions from those slides. When we mount this, I want the ability to slide this back as far as humanly possible, because, and you can see how it's going to angle right underneath of here. At least I hope it does. So the reason we did that was I want this box as far back as possible, because in the back of my truck I only have 4 feet, and as you know, those boxes are basically 24 each, so I can't have it protruding past the box. So I'm going to try to set it back as far as possible. What I did was I dadoed a 3/4 inch bit to receive the bottom, but because I'm using 3/4, I had to make the bottom 1/2 inch. So I ripped this through my table saw to make it 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch dado here, and then we're going to assemble everything. So the first thing we're going to do is glue up the side. All right, so that's the side, and then we're going to repeat the process for the back. Again, the angle is going out of the box. All right, so that is how you build the drawer. Obviously, the drawer system with the soft close, which is nice. I'm not installing the drawers in that. Obviously, I'm mocking everything up, but I'm not going to install the drawers on that one because obviously to paint it, I got to take them out. So there's really no point. But this is nice because I can get all my tools or parts or whatever out, or I can take the lid off completely, have all 3 out, access to everything. All right, this is not a sponsored post. I exclusively use Sherwin-Williams, so that is what I used. But I bought 2 gallons and the sprayer stopped working because there wasn't enough paint. So I'm gonna have to get more tomorrow, but this is the progress we made. I think they look great. They're far from perfect, but again, they're just to hold toolboxes. Because this is the shorter one, that's the bigger one. So the bigger one's on the driver's side, the shorter one's on the passenger side. All the chargers are going to get mounted there, and then 3 drawers are going to go in there. And then I highly doubt anyone's going to build the exact same thing I am, but if you do, I just screwed a little stick on there just to prevent that from falling over, because as you can see, that's where the rolling box is going to slide in. And then this is the driver's side. So I'm gonna mount tools and batteries and screwdrivers and everything up there. That's like the tailgate part. And then obviously the MAKTRAKs are gonna slide in there. All right, with our boxes painted, I'm now going to install something called stealth mounts. So stealth mounts, I have them packed in my trailer. They basically make organization for tools, batteries, drills, whatever. So you can order these on Amazon. So what I'm gonna do is they have something called a wall hive. The wall hive's gonna go here with all kinds of screwdrivers and wrenches. These battery mounts are I'm gonna put here on the side, so that way I can mount all the batteries like that. And then up top, I'm gonna mount the tools so they're like that, so I can pull them off and they're easily accessible. All right, so I just built this out of 2 sheets of plywood and a little luan in the middle to give me the height I need. I pre-drilled the holes so I know where they go, and we're just gonna screw it right up like that. On this side, I plan on putting all my tools. Now, the one thing I did was I allowed these to slide. So if I wanted to, I can open these up, but fingers crossed, Makita eventually comes out with some drawers. So that way I can pull these out, put the drawers in. So when this is inside my truck, this is all I have access to. So I wanted to get the stuff that I use the most, like shovels, come-alongs, siphons, drills, tools, whatever I want is easily accessible without pulling this entire thing out. Now up here, as you can see, I have the stealth mounts. here, this is the stealth mount hive system, and then I have my hammer and batteries and basically anything I need to do small stuff. When I was designing this, most of the stuff I do is obviously irrigation. So I'm going to put PVC fittings in all these boxes. That is why it's on the passenger side. So I'm standing on the curb, not in the middle of the street. The other thing I did was I put drawer slides on all of these, so that way I can take off the lid, access what I need or leave it open like this, and that way I don't have to worry about a car coming by and swiping it off. And then right here, self-explanatory, I got chargers mounted. I still got to mount the LXT charger right here, but that way I can charge the batteries whenever I need. And lastly, there are shelves in the back of my truck, so if I ever need to get back there, I intentionally left this space so I can crawl there, and it worked out perfectly because now I have the bottom of the MAKTRAK system easily accessible. So I just pull this out when I need it, or I could just leave it tucked away and just use the storage. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, send it to your friends. I probably will do a part 2 of actually filling all the MAKTRAK. I am going to get some foam and put tools in it. So again, like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it.